All right, everyone. So we have another video here from Seth the Programmer, and this one's called "What if Itachi Uchiha went to the 5 Kage Summit?" Now, we did react to another video that's a lot like this from Seth, Seth the Programmer, called "What if Pain went to the 5 Kage Summit?" And this one is going to be, of course, what if Itachi went to the 5 Kage Summit? Now, that's actually an interesting question. You know, what if Itachi was there? What if he was probably sent there by Pain? I don't know for what reason really, but how exactly would Itachi fare against the 5 Kage? Would he do better than Pain? Would he do better than how Sasuke performed at the 5 Kage Summit? It's an interesting question. You know, with Sasuke, you know, he went there obviously with a plan to capture Danzo, you know, obviously because he found out what happened with Itachi, and Danzo was one of his primary targets, one of the people he wanted to get revenge on. And he did have a plan, but then obviously Obito had a different plan, and he had Zetsu head over to the summit and essentially announced to everyone that Sasuke was there and kind of you know, undermine Sasuke, and Sasuke had to change things up. And you know, Sasuke actually did end up doing pretty well, but would Itachi do better? I mean, for me personally, based on what we know about him, I guess it would kind of depend on whether this is a live Itachi or reanimated Itachi or Edo Itachi. It depends, because a live Itachi obviously had a lot of things going against him. He was really sick. You know, he was starting to lose his eyesight, and he can't really use his abilities for too long, because even though he is pretty strong, one thing that Itachi has shown is that his stamina isn't really the best out of you know, out of the characters that we know about. So even if you could say he would do really well, he probably wouldn't be able to stay there for long. And if the fight were to go on for longer than it was necessary, then Itachi would find himself at a disadvantage. And you know, the reason for that is because when it comes to the Sharingan, obviously it offers you a lot of advantages, but one of the biggest disadvantages of the Sharingan is that it uses up a lot of your chakra, not to mention it uses up a lot of stamina. That's why a lot of Sharingan users have to end the fight really quickly, because if they fight for too long, then they end up, like I said, being at a disadvantage because they lose a lot of their chakra, and as a result of that, they lose a lot of their stamina, and they can't fight anymore. So it is an interesting, you know, a question to ask. But let's go ahead and watch the video. So we're gonna watch this, and as always, guys, I'll leave a link to this video as well as Seth's channel in the description box, so make sure you check him out. Head on over there, watch the video itself, go to Seth's channel, watch his videos, go support him, and do that with every other content creator we react to here on this channel. And comment down below with whatever your thoughts are, and if you have a video you want me to watch and react to, just let me know about it in the comment section down below. But please, whatever you do, don't link it, because I don't know what's going on with YouTube. For some reason they erase comments that have links, so just tell me the title of the video and the channel where I can find it, and I will get to it. And all right, with all that stuff out of the way, and oh, sorry, one more thing, consider subscribing, liking the video, sharing the video. All those things will really help out with the algorithm. So let's go ahead and watch this.
Hello everyone, it's your host, Seth the Programmer. With me today I have Overweight Man. We're going to be talking about Itachi at the 5 Kage.
It's going to be him in 6.
Because now, before we get into the video, I'd like to proudly announce that this video has been sponsored by Bloodline Heroes of Lithis. Bloodline Heroes of Lithis is a card-based fantasy RPG in 3D realistic graphics. Wow.
You know, I've been seeing a lot of people promote this game,
where you
Bloodline.
can not only collect champions, build kingdoms, but also...
So I've never actually played it, but I'm gonna ask you guys, like, if you've played this game, let me know. I mean, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. It's just, is it one of those games that seems interesting, you know, on the outside, but once you actually play it, it's not really all that fun.
Also create legendary heirs of your own houses by combining the forces of various bloodlines such as orcs, Lycans, demons, and dragonborn. You can also customize your own champions by marrying different bloodlines until you find a unique combination that suits you and how you want to play the game. I like how easy it is to play because of its simple controls, which will leave you with a relaxing experience. But that's not just it. The game has skill animations, because no one tries to just add that raw visual entertainment to a mobile game nowadays. There are battle strategies in this game, so there's a lot of skill involved with it, which will be a lot of fun to learn. Lots and lots to explore, and I'm not just saying that. There's a whole heap of quests and exploration to do in the game, like kingdom managing. Who doesn't want to have their own kingdom and be able to manage it? Download the game now by checking the link in the description or scanning the QR code, and by logging in you can get the Clan of Karg for free. And hey, if that's not enough for you, then no worries. I have a special gift code in the description which will let you obtain in-game rewards, including 1 champion token, 100,000 gold, and 100 diamonds. A big thank you for Bloodline Heroes Elithis for making this video possible. Because, I don't know, it sounded cool, you know? You see Sasuke at the Kage Summit, and you're like, low-key hearing him get compared to Itachi the entire time. Whether it be his genjutsu, his control of Amaterasu, or whatever it is, he gets compared to Itachi. And I think even in the data books, they actually compare Itachi to Sasuke at this point pretty directly. And I also wanted to go over what it would be like for Kisame to also roll up in there, because, you know, Sasuke had...
I mean, it is kind of inevitable, you know, like when you have a brother, it's kind of inevitable that you're going to be, you know, compared to him, or not just a brother, but, you know, just any sibling, you're going to be compared to them. And considering the fact that at the time, you know, Sasuke and Itachi were kind of the only 2 Uchihas left alive in the world, it was even more inevitable that they were always going to be compared to each other. Like, oh, okay, here's Sasuke in the leaf. Like, how is he compared to Itachi? It's something that was always going to happen. And I feel like that's something that did kind of add to a lot of the insecurities that Sasuke felt when he was young. You know, consistently being compared to someone like Itachi, someone who had all that talent and, you know, that kind of skill level at such a young age.
All his boys with him, so we thought, you know, let's throw Kisame in there. So it'd basically be, what if Itachi and Kisame went to the Kage Summit, and we can just say hypothetically maybe Obito just threw them in there to harass the Kage, to make them like listen to his demands better or something, which is sort of like what the plan was low-key anyway, on top of training Sasuke. So we'll just say that he kind of just sent them there for that purpose rather than training one of them or something. So that was the only purpose. So we could maybe say that he would plant little Zetsus on everybody or whatever as well. That's a possibility. Maybe he'd show up at the very end, you know, like he did with Sasuke. And I guess we'll kind of just do it in like the story order, where Itachi and Kisame, they would raid the summit, and then the Raikage would be like, what did you do to my brother? And then like he would like ram out there and then
like
fight
you
them.
could even have
so
him like
go over how
come in
start.
on the same energy. Like, let's just say Sasuke captured B as well. As like, where's your brother at? He kidnapped my brother or something like that.
I mean, if it makes it like less headcanony or whatever, we can just say that Itachi just captured.
Yeah, I mean either or. You know, like for whatever reason they're at the summit, and then the Raikage comes in. You know, I'm gonna show you true fury or whatever.
I feel like
Itachi get the scrapping. So it's Itachi.
Such a bad line.
I mean, for me personally, I feel like how I would kind of see this happening is that if the Raikage were to go up against Itachi, I feel like Itachi would just immediately put him under Genjutsu. And we know that the Raikage isn't immune to it, especially Mangekyo Sharingan Genjutsu. Because we saw what happened, you know, when they fought against Madara. Madara was immediately able to put him under Genjutsu. And I feel like Itachi is someone who would not only put him under Genjutsu, but he also would make sure that no one would be able to get him out of Genjutsu. So he would, you know, probably put like a ring of like Amaterasu around him, you know, just to ensure that no one would be able to get to him. And yeah, you could you know, seal away the Amaterasu flames, but at that situation I don't really see anyone being able to, like, you know, sit down, open up a scroll, write the pattern, write the actual seal, just like what Jiraiya did, and then, you know, seal it away. I feel like that would require time that they don't really have, and in that situation sitting still would result in your death pretty much. So yeah, you'd kind of be fucked. So I don't know, it's just, that's kind of how I see that whole situation happening. But that's just me.
It's Itachi and Kisame.
Excuse me.
In the room. Their main opponents, anyway, at this point, is going to be Raikage, Darui, and C. I sort of think, the way Itachi and Kisame work, Kisame normally lets Itachi handle like the big guys. Like he was the same way with Jiraiya. He was like, I don't know if I can take him, so I'm gonna let you have it. And when they were getting away, obviously it was Itachi who opened the hole in the.
Which does kind of, show you again just how impressive Jiraiya actually is. Like we found out later on just how strong Kisame is. Like he was able to fight against the eight-tailed Jinchuriki. He was able to fight against B, who was known to be a perfect Jinchuriki, and yet he nearly took him down. Like if it hadn't been for Samehada abandoning him, and if it hadn't been for other people helping him, like B would have been captured. Like he basically lost that fight. But Guy came in, and there was that other guy with the Tanuki, which his name I'm forgetting. But yeah, he had that guy's help, and then again, like I said, Samehada abandoning him didn't really help. So yeah, Kisame had that fight pretty much won, and for him to say like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to handle Jiraiya because I don't think I can handle this guy, just goes to show you how powerful Jiraiya actually is, or was, I guess, in this game.
Giant frog belly to get away. So Kisame is probably gonna start fighting with C and Darui, and Itachi's gonna fight the Raikage. Now, when it comes to the difficulty of both fights, I think Kisame versus Darui and C is gonna go fairly simply. And there's a few reasons why. So Kisame, just before the summit, a little bit before the B fight, Kisame has a fight with Suigetsu where he's like holding back. It's while Itachi and Sasuke are fighting. And then after that, when they're having their little conference with Obito, Sasuke tells Suigetsu, just back off Kisame. You can't beat Kisame. And then we got Suigetsu who's running into the summit, and he's able to...
kind of screwed over there, yeah. It happens to everyone.
To block a holding back Raikage at the same time that Jugo blocks Darui. So if that's the case, and you just do some linear like ABC type scaling from there, like okay, Suigetsu and Kisame is a little bit stronger. They're around the same level as Jugo, who's faster than Darui. And then C is sort of like the hang back guy, so it's not implied he's all too combative pickle. Oh my god, it's
combat pickle. That goes crazy. You
anyway,
think about food
it's
already.
It's not implied he's all too combat applicable outside
combat.
Of
okay.
Which you don't even know if C could genjutsu someone with as much chakra as Kisame. Like, would it be like since you inject your chakra into someone else to control their senses or whatever? Is it just like C drops his chakra into Kisame's ocean of chakra, so it's sort of like trying to dye the ocean red with a drop of food coloring or something like that? So you can't really prove C can genjutsu Kisame. And then with Kisame versus Darui, like I said earlier, he's just faster. He can absorb tons of chakra in one swipe. I think like up to 6 tails of a V1 cloak from B. So that fight's going pretty simply, at least the way I broke it down. But you can get into Itachi versus Raikage.
Yeah. So some interesting facts about Itachi is that apparently it's stated that the only time, or the first time, Sasuke begins to surpass Itachi in really any capacity when it comes to like ocular abilities and all of that is when he actually gets the EMS. So everything you see in the War Arc versus Jubito, what you see versus Sage Kabuto, all of those scraps would be what would be considered above Itachi's live arsenal with his eyes, basically. Like maybe not with Edo. Maybe Edo Tensei is a bit different because his body's healthier, or whatever you want to say, however you want to cope with it. But
he doesn't have any of the weaknesses that he had when he was alive. He's not sick, his eyes aren't deteriorating, so he doesn't have any of the drawbacks, and he also has infinite stamina, so he now doesn't have to worry about that. Or I don't know why I'm saying now like it's present, but he didn't have to worry about that when he was in Edo Tensei. So yeah, I mean, if it was reanimated Itachi, I feel like the fight would definitely go a lot differently than when he was alive.
Basically what it's implying is that the Itachi that we see throughout the series that was suppressed versus CM2 Sasuke, Curse Mark 2 Sasuke, and no diff to Orochimaru in like 2 seconds with his Susanoo. Now, when it comes to that, it is highly unlikely that the Raikage would just absolutely just lariat bomb, or whatever, or elbow chop him, or kill him in one hit, as Sasuke is obviously weaker than Itachi, at least implied heavily. And he could still react to all of those version 1 techniques. And mainly when the version 2 Raikage comes out, Itachi is a sensory type, and he probably knows a lot about the Raikage, just like they seem to know a lot about Itachi's abilities. And he would probably know if he isn't fast enough to react to the Raikage, which I'd actually say he is. Granted,
I would say he is.
Edo Itachi.
Mhm.
But even
Yeah,
if you said he's, for whatever reason, he's just like vaguely faster than MS Sasuke.
Yeah, Itachi, like when he was in Edo Tensei, he was able to react to KCM1 Naruto, who earlier proved that he can react to Raikage's or Raikage A. So I would say, yeah, he would be able to react to him. Although again, like, does that depend? Like, are we talking, was he able to do that because he was a reanimation and he didn't have the drawbacks that he had when he was alive, or was he always able to do that? Just something I feel like could be discussed.
He would probably know enough to just activate his Susanoo or some type of Susanoo, and then the Raikage just actually cannot do really feasibly anything to him. Even like later on when we see the Raikage fight Madara, that Madara is just kind of like messing around, and even then he could barely damage like Madara's ribcage a lot of the time. Even Tsunade, who's stronger than him, punching like Madara as hard as she can, it kind of like blasts chunks in just like the normal ribcage Susanoo, and they kind of have to like do like multiple combos just to like beat up like a really like lesser possessed Susanoo from Madara, not even like armored or anything like that. So yes, if Itachi whipped it out, the Raikage probably is not doing anything. Let's be real. But I think something that's more interesting, and I was talking to Six about this, is Kisame versus the Raikage. Like if that went down, because we were reading Kisame versus B, and something that Kisame can do is that he can just rip away a bunch of tails from Killer Bee's Chakra Cloak, which are pretty comparable to the Raikage's version 1 Lightning Cloak, right? Version 1 Lightning Cloak is implied to be comparable to like a few tails of B, or maybe his version 2 state, and then version 2 Raikage is what's comparable to like full 8 tails Killer Bee, as an example. So an interesting like little like dissection you can have is if the Raikage like toyed around with Kisame like he did with Suigetsu and Jugo and all of them, which he literally did. He actually toyed around with Sasuke even when he's basically like bloodlusted and wants to kill him. He's still suppressed when he first comes out. So something interesting you could say is Kisame might be able to absorb a ton of chakra from the Raikage and potentially whip out his water bubble.
Yeah, this guy. This is the one I was talking about.
After that happens, it's really weird. It's really weird to say like how that would go down from there. Like there's a potential solo angle for Kisame with these Cloud Ninja, like 100%. And I think even if the Sand Ninja come and you think they'd give him a problem or whatever, if he doesn't imply the bubble or whatever, Itachi just stomps him out with the Susanoo anyway, his fully armored Susanoo. I don't think that's even like a contest. But
so
yeah, you can
like
go ahead.
with Kisame absorbing so much chakra, like I said earlier, and I think Seth mentioned just then as well, he can take up to 6 tails of chakra from B. So the Raikage is comparable to the 8 tails, at least when he goes into the version 2 cloak, not necessarily the version 1 cloak. And even the version 1 cloak, it has varying levels of chakra. Like they can get higher or lower, and obviously when he's in his weaker state, like when he's getting blocked by Suigetsu, he's not at his full power of his V1 or whatever. Because realistically speaking, V1 and V2, these are just like fan terms to help us better understand what we're talking about when we're referring to the Raikage in whatever specific fight. V1 is just the Raikage holding back his lightning cloak to some unknown degree. So if he comes in on the same energy he did with Suigetsu, Kisame might just tear that cloak off. And then what happens with Kisame, when he gets enough chakra, he starts tearing enough chakra away from his opponent, he just gets stronger and stronger because Samehada turns the chakra back into stamina and then gives it to Kisame, so he just never gets tired. And then when he merges with Samehada and turns into what everyone calls Fused Kisame, he can then absorb chakra just through his skin. Like if he just touches you, he can absorb a massive amount of chakra. Whenever him and B are in the bubble, granted the bubble absorbs chakra as well. So him and B are in the bubble, Kisame makes contact with B, B's in B2, and he just takes it all away. Like to the point where B can't move, he's just on the ground. Literally the only reason B even survived after that point was because Samehada switched sides and went to his side. But yeah, so like if Fused Kisame comes out, like Seth said, there's like this weird solo angle for Kisame.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this whole thing, to me, I don't know. Again, I could be wrong, but to me, it did kind of feel like this was Kishimoto realizing, okay, B can't die because I kind of need him, for, later on in the story. So yeah, I'm gonna write a wave to not have Kisame essentially win the fight because, like I said, B technically lost this fight. If Samehada hadn't done this, then yeah, B essentially lost. As you can see right there, like if this happened, then B would have been captured, and the what was it? The Ghetto Maza would have gotten the Eight Tails' chakra. So yeah, there are a lot of times in Naruto where it does feel like Kishimoto kind of wrote himself into a corner and finds ways to get out of it. Now, the ways that it does happen, it makes sense within the story, but it still doesn't stop it from kind of feeling like it was him just trying to find a way to get out of this corner that he's written himself in. You know what I mean? At least that's kind of what it felt like. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe this was something he always had planned. But one thing that I didn't understand is that why he was so obsessed with keeping B alive. You know what I mean? Like there are so many times where I'm asking myself, like, wait, how the hell is B still alive? Like later on when he like for example in the war arc when Madara was absorbing the other tailed beasts, like he absorbed Gyuki, and then B later on was revealed to be alive, and I'm like, how? Like you're supposed to die if the tailed beast is ripped out of you. Like, I mean, are they trying to explain that Gyuki somehow was able to leave like a little bit of his chakra in B? But that doesn't really make any sense because it's supposed to absorb all of it. Like if you could do that, then why didn't Kurama do that with Naruto? Why doesn't any of the tailed beasts do that when their Jinchuriki has their has the tailed beast ripped away from them? Like why don't they just leave a small amount of their chakra in them so they don't die? I don't understand. Like again, it just feels like to me like he doesn't want to kill this character off, so he just finds ways to keep them alive. And when you think about it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know. That's just kind of how I saw it. But let's go ahead and continue.
Like he might beat Darui, C, Raikage, Gaara, Tamari, Kankuro, and all the other samurai just by himself.
If he gets enough energy, I think. But it also depends once again on the Raikage's character, because I do think that the implication of B not being able to use his full Eight Tails form in the Kisame fight was sort of indicative of like, okay, he's being held back on purpose to make it more tense. So I do think maybe like version 2 Raikage may give Kisame too much for him to handle. But if Kisame has enough time to like build up off of the Raikage toying around, it's like way more realistic for Kisame to do something there. But once again, even if it is like version 2 Raikage and for whatever reason he just beats up Kisame, like Itachi Susanoo is just never losing to the Raikage. It's just not happening whatsoever. And I'd honestly argue that Itachi is actually just too fast for him. I mean, like a lot of people have been saying this, like scaling Itachi to the Edo version, but we don't really know how the Edo version is amped or nerfed compared to the original. For instance, the Edo version could just have like more like longevity in battle or something like Hiruzen does or something like that. We have no idea really what exactly the amps are, like what the sickness does to Itachi, other than just basic cardio and making it really hard to strain himself. So if that's the case, like he was scrapping with Naruto and B, and then alongside EMS Sasuke, who was scrapping with like a pretty late war arc KCM Naruto. Whether you think he's as fast as KCM2 at that point in 1.5 or whatever have you when they're fighting Jubito, that's way beyond the Raikage's pay grade, as we know. So I do not see that happening at all with the Raikage's favor. But if you go then to May, which would happen, they'd go to May. May just gets obliterated by Kisame solo. I don't even know. Do you want to talk about her? Like, is that even?
No. May is undoubtedly the weakest of the 5 Kages. You get this what I like to call perspective panel or panels in the Madara versus the 5 Kage fight, where it shows you how each of the 5 Kage are doing against the Susanoo clones. I think Onoki's like vaporizing some, Tsunade's body slamming some with punches, and then Raikage's actually body slamming some like with his wrestling moves. Gaara traps some in sand, and May like melts the arm of one and still gets punched. So I think it's being made pretty clear that May is the weakest of the 5 Kage there.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the more interesting things to go from there is then we see Mifune try to slash Sasuke. If base Sharingan Sasuke is blocking that, okay, Itachi is 100%. You know what I mean? If Danzo knows that Itachi's rolling up into the summit, he'll probably run away, just like he did when Sasuke was. So that'd have to be like a post-summit fight as well. I think the most interesting confrontation would be with Onoki. Now, in actual like canon or whatever, by this point, the Zetsu activated, started stealing all the Kage's chakra, and they would give it to Kisame and Itachi, and apparently if Onoki tries to particle style any of them, he would just save them if they couldn't react to it, apparently. So by that point in the summit, it's pretty much just kind of GG. Now, Itachi versus Onoki is like its own whole topic, same with Kisame and all that as well. But what do you think about it? Like, I don't even think it's necessary to answer, because by that time, once again, Obito gets there. And honestly, they might capture the Raikage as a hostage. They'd probably get May as a hostage, at least, like 100%. But what do you think would happen if they actually had to scrap Onoki? In the hypothetical, they probably wouldn't.
If they have to fight Onoki, like let's say Obito is less willing to help Itachi than he is to help Sasuke, because he kind of doesn't care if Itachi dies, because he's trying to manipulate Sasuke at this point.
Maybe he's like a liability,
so,
you know.
If Obito's not gonna enter, and we have Onoki versus Kisame and Itachi at this,
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I've always wondered, like, what would a fight between Sasuke and Onoki be like if, like, obviously, like, okay, people can look at this and say, well, obviously it wouldn't go well, because I mean, he nearly killed him right here. But you got to remember, like, Sasuke at this point was not at 100%, like, not even close. I mean, for one thing, he had no idea what Onoki's ability even was, so he doesn't know what it could do or how to handle it. And you got to remember that at this point, Sasuke had already used up a lot of chakra. He was like, his visions was starting to deteriorate, and he was incredibly exhausted, so he was not even close. So like, I do wonder, like, if a fight between Sasuke and Onoki where Sasuke is healthy, he actually knows what his abilities are, or even if he doesn't know, like if he was 100% healthy, his eyes were fine, like nothing wrong, what would it go, how would it go down? I feel like it probably wouldn't happen, like it did here. I feel like Sasuke would be able to do a lot better than he did here, because he would be able to probably anticipate a lot of Onoki's abilities. And Sasuke's always been someone who, usually, at least, there are some times, but usually he doesn't really underestimate his opponents. So I feel like he would, look at Onoki and realize, okay, wait, I don't know what this guy could do. I need to be careful. So, and you also got to remember, Sasuke's mental state, like, it wasn't really the best at this moment. He was still heavily bloodlusted. He was still heavily affected by the news that he got the news that he got from Obito about, Itachi's life. So he wasn't really the best mentally. Because if this was the same Sasuke that we saw before he found out about Itachi, where he was focused, he thought about everything, you know, just like what he did with Orochimaru, where he waited for the right moment to strike and, you know, took him down. I feel like that version of Sasuke would do a lot better against Onoki with the Mangekyo. At least that's kind of my own personal opinion.
At this point, I think it goes sort of the same way it did in the other room with the Raikage. The reason being, Onoki is definitely part of the 5 Kage that were weaker than Hiruzen. Like it's just stated, it's stated implied just multiple times. Hiruzen was the strongest of that 5 Kage era, and I don't think Inoki's getting any stronger. If anything, Inoki's getting weaker because, you know, he's an old man. He probably peaked. Maybe he like keeps up his physical peak or something like that, similar to Guy, but Onoki should be weaker than Hiruzen. And then if you scale Itachi over Hiruzen the way everyone does, like through Orochimaru or through the signing, him just being generally stronger than the signing or seen at that level, I mean, you get pretty clear Itachi over Onoki scaling. And then with Kisame and his chakra draining abilities, it's a bit weird. How do we say like Kisame's Samehada would interact with particle style? Is it like, oh, particle style hits it, but Samehada is just absorbing it at the same time?
Like it's like a Renegon absorption thing, or is the particle style like so weird that it would just melt the sword or something? Or how much chakra is in the particle style blast? We don't actually, there's like no way to quantify like this particle style blast has exactly like 19 tails worth of version 1 killer bee. Like there's just no way just to say that, so it's kind of weird. It's implied Onoki doesn't necessarily have like massive amounts of chakra whenever he's mentioned, and it's more so as like his willpower keeps bringing him back into fights and stuff. One thing I'll say specifically about Onoki is I think he has insane attack potency for a Naruto character, in the sense that I think his particle style hits harder than any of the Kage. You know what I mean? But one thing I think that Onoki has that's like weak for him is he's not very fast, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is he's clearly slower than the Raikage when they fight Madara. Like the Raikage is clearly like the fast one there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like his thing. He's the guy who's able to move incredibly fast and be incredibly strong.
We also see when he's like flying around, he's like flying around with Edo nerfed Datara as well. Not saying he's nerfed Datara level, but like that's really like one of the only other examples. And then other than that, you have like KCM Shadow Clone help him fight Mu, and then the Shadow Clone just kind of blows Mu away. So
I mean, there's also like, you know, if you want to contend Onoki being faster than the Raikage, which, I mean, come on now. But Onoki literally gets on the Raikage's back to lighten him because he's like the fastest one there, so that they can move around the battlefield faster. So yeah, so I don't know. Even if he is faster than the Raikage, it's not by a significant degree from what we know of. And I don't really believe like, you know, the Shadow Clones are going to be like 800 times Raikage's speed and Onoki scales to that or something. It just doesn't seem implied with the 5 Kage battle, like at all, in my opinion. But yeah, so I mean, if Itachi scales like to Sasuke, he's above Sasuke just pretty objectively. He might even be on the bridge of EMS Sasuke while alive, depending on how you interpret Edo or whatever. He should be like way fast enough to handle Onoki. Even if you think Onoki, for whatever reason, is just so durable, he can handle like a continent nuking meteor. Like just
this was. I gotta be honest. Like I don't know how I feel about this. Like I feel like this would have been a good place to kill him off. Like it would have been actually a pretty badass way to go out for his character. Like him going out trying to stop a meteor from falling on his comrades, you know, his you know, the other shinobi in that division. I feel like that would have been a really badass way for him to go out, like him being able to lighten the boulder to the point where the impact isn't as strong, and so some of his comrades are able to survive because of it. I feel like that would have been a really awesome way to write out the character, as opposed to how it happened in the Boruto series. And Yeah, not really a big fan of it. But I just wanted to say something about this real quick. So their statement about Itachi being above MS Sasuke, I think that yeah, that's pretty, that's pretty clear since MS Itachi was able to keep up with EMS Sasuke. So I would say that yeah, MS Itachi was, above MS Sasuke, and I know that's not really something that a lot of people want to hear, especially Sasuke fans, which I am one. So, but yeah, I feel like it's because Sasuke doesn't really have as much experience with the Mangekyo Sharingan as Itachi did. Itachi had years with the Mangekyo, whereas Sasuke had like what, a couple of weeks, a couple of maybe a month tops. And Sasuke was just going around using it as much as he could, even though like he probably shouldn't have. And Itachi was a lot smarter than that. He knew that with the Mangekyo, like the more you use it, the more you start to lose your light. That's why he rarely ever used it, only on in special circumstances that he decided to actually pull out the Mangekyo, like when it was actually needed. So he was a lot smarter with it, which is why he was able to go years without losing his eyesight. And he actually gave his eyes a chance to rest every now and then, which was kind of needed when you get the Mangekyo. But Sasuke didn't listen to that. Again, Sasuke was not in the best mental state at that moment, which, if we know anything about the Naruto series, we know that your mental state is really important when you go into battle. If it's not the best, then it does heavily affect your ability to perform in a fight. And this is something that's been proven in the Naruto series over and over again. Like, your mind and your body need to be in perfect sync in order for you to draw out your full potential. And if it's not, then it's not going to happen. So it is interesting, because I do wonder, like, what would happen if, let's say, Sasuke had years to train with the Mangekyo and was able to get as good as Itachi. Like, how would he compare to Itachi as we saw him in the war arc, when he became reanimated, and we were able to see just what Itachi was fully capable of? I do wonder about that. But let's go ahead and finish off this video. Where were we?
Even if you think Onoki, for whatever reason, is just so can handle,
Yeah, here we
like,
go.
a continent nuking meteor, like, just no nerf. He just handled all the energy all himself, like it wasn't dispersed anywhere else. Tosuke Blade.
GG.
Yeah, yeah, GG. Tsukuyomi, like, he has so many win cons. Amaterasu, like, there's just so many ways Itachi could win, as well as the fact that if Kisame is fast enough, or has the ability to absorb particle style, which, once again, absorbing particle style, that is its own little discussion. It's kind of unquantifiable. I'll leave that up to you guys. Do you think Kisame can absorb particle style? Because he could absorb just like Bijou cloaks on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, particle style is just another form of chakra, and Samehada can absorb chakra, so I would say yeah.
Contact, which is pretty impressive. And Bijou cloaks are considered like godly amounts of chakra. Like, Jinchuriki chakra is considered so massive, it's like incomparable. So I do think it's probable, and Kisame is probably fast enough to scrap with Onoki if Deidara and Sasuke and the Raikage are. So that's just my take on it. I think that at the end of the day, though, they probably wouldn't fight Onoki. Obito would step in and be like, all right, we got a hostage. Like, you wanted to listen yet? Like, you're going to war. And then he and the boys would just, like, vanish into the ether.
Yeah.
And that'd be it. But, yeah, anyways, that's all I have to say about the video. I don't know if you have any more to add to that.
The only thing I would say
yeah.
is, just for the comments, keep in mind, this is a 5 Kage that aren't as well coordinated as they were with Madara.
Right. We're more so putting Itachi and Kisame in the same position that Sasuke went through in the manga. Like, those set, it's almost like a gauntlet. It's like almost like the Kage like gauntlet. Like, you're playing. If you were playing like Storm, it's like, all right, mission 1, Raikage, Darui, and C battle, and then mission 2, Mei and Chojuro battle, or something like that. That kind of energy. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and till next time.
I think that's the end of the video. Yeah, so there you go. Again, it is a it is an interesting, situation. What if Itachi and Kisame were, which by the way, I didn't expect them to put, Kisame there. I thought it was just going to be Itachi alone, but Kisame there does definitely change the, it definitely does change the game because, not Sasuke, Kisame does add a lot, with all of his abilities and what we know he could do. It would definitely put things in Itachi's favor. And they mentioned, like, can it absorb particle style? Again, I think it can, because particle style is just another form of chakra, and the Rinnegan obviously being able to absorb chakra. If Samehada can do the same, then I would say yeah, it can. So it is an interesting situation, putting Itachi against the against the Raikage, and then not Tsunade, she wasn't there, but against Danzo, which, by the way, that's interesting. I don't think they mentioned Danzo at all. Yeah, no, I don't think they ever talked about Danzo, which, I guess technically it makes sense since Danzo bailed. So I guess he wouldn't really go up against really go up against Itachi. And I think that was on purpose, because Danzo knew that, oh yeah, Itachi, like, he knows what I can do. He knows about my arm. He knows about the fact that I have Kodomatsukami. He knows that I have Izanagi. He knows about the forbidden Uchiha Jutsu. So probably not a good idea to go up against him. I mean, if Sasuke was able to use Genjutsu to be able to trick Danzo, then Itachi would be able to do the same. I mean, even I think Obito at that point even mentioned that at that time Sasuke's Genjutsu was nowhere near as refined as Itachi's, but still, it's a Sharingan Genjutsu is still nothing to, you still don't want to fuck with that. It'll still fuck you up. Like, it's something that you want to avoid as much as possible. But obviously that did kind of change. Sasuke did get much better with using Genjutsu in the future, in the Boruto era. I mean, this is the same guy who was able to make Naruto and Jiraiya forget that they already met a future version of Sasuke, and they already met Naruto's son from the future. I guess technically, if you count that, I mean, for me personally, I don't really count it. I still look at it as filler, because I really don't like that whole time slip arc. I'm not a fan of it. But if you do count it, then Sasuke, his Genjutsu became so refined that he can erase people's memories even 20 years. Like, it can last for that long. Like, that's how good his Genjutsu has become. So I would say, yeah, it's pretty much surpassed Itachi's at that point. But I don't know. I mean, Sasuke was, he grew up. He was able to refine his techniques even more. I do wonder, like, if Itachi, hadn't died at such a young age, like, what would his Genjutsu game be if he was an adult? I feel like he could probably go down in history as being one of the strongest Genjutsu users in all of Shinobi history. But that's just me. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, share this video out there, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, ring the bell for notifications, consider becoming a member to my channel by hitting that join button. You can go the extra mile in helping support the channel, and comment, like I said, comment down below with your thoughts. And if you have any recommendations, just tell me about them in the comment section down below, and I will get to them. But for now, I'll talk to you guys soon.